In today's session, welcome to Speak on Stage. We're going to be sharing the platform with lots of people joining us live on LinkedIn, discussing various conversations about mentoring, about mindset, about success, and about how to bring more happiness into your life. This is the podcast. You can catch us live every single Friday. This is Speak on Stage. LinkedIn branding strategies. That's always a fascinating conversation. I wonder how many people admit to having challenges about LinkedIn, or are going to say, no, it's easy, just do it, just do stuff, and everybody jumps on, and then that's all you ever do. We'll find out. How are you, ladies?
Very well, thanks. How are you doing, Dave?
Fantastic, thank you very much. Good to have you joining us, and people are just arriving as well. Nice to see Eric and Malcolm and Haroon in the group as well. Always a pleasure to have lots of people coming to join us. Feel free, by the way, as we open up the platform to allow people to jump on stage and talk to us. Before we do anything, we want to be able to go live and let people know that we are going live. So what I'd like everyone to do is just share this post. Just share it with everyone saying, I'm on this post, it's going live, come and join us. And hopefully we'll have an avalanche of lots of people joining in, bringing their conversation and animating lots of different thoughts and energies that we can tap into, because it's really all about you. And it's all about the ability to get more people to join us and do amazing things. As you probably guessed, I could talk forever, but I shan't, because it'd just be a bad thing to do. So let's just a quick repost. You don't have to add anything, but it would be nice if you did add something, just to repost and let everybody know where you are. So as we're doing that and reposting and pressing the buttons, what's the weather like in the UK, Debs?
It's actually really good. You can see a blue sky, which is a pleasant change. It's actually been a good mild week. We got to 16 this week.
Oh, wow.
So it's just a rarity in February. So yeah, no, it was a good week.
Considering
and it's a beautiful morning. Yeah.
Excellent. I've been hearing horror stories all about the weather, though. But I suppose that's pretty standard. In the UK?
Probably up north. It's more up north, I guess.
I guess so. Where you live, is that inside, like, where is it you live?
Southwest, just on the outskirts of Reading.
Okay. And are you in countryside area, inside a city? What's the general thing?
It's referred to as a market town. So small town, I guess.
Okay, so does that mean that you get buffeted by horrible winds, or generally it just misses you and goes elsewhere?
Both. We got floods. We got floods earlier on in the year, and some of the winds definitely affected the riverbanks and canals and the houses in the area.
Oh, goodness me.
So, yeah.
Well, we've had relatively cold days where we might have had to wear a jumper once or twice. And that's Dubai.
All right.
I'm not going to rub it in. I'm just saying that's about it. So today's session is all about LinkedIn secrets, and it's following up the chat I had with Mary Henderson, who's an incredible thought leader and brilliant business coach, and one of the smartest people I've ever known on LinkedIn. And she's got some brilliant ways of improving what you do to get more clients. And one of the things that's so fascinating is she's got zero interest in getting more followers or fans, or getting more engagement in your posts. She really only wants to concentrate on getting more people that work with you and put more money in the bank, which is a really fascinating way to look at it, because everyone else is chasing vanity metrics and measuring every post as to whether it converted into something big or not. She just puts it out there about what it is that you're after, and the right people will find it if you get support from the right people at the same time, which I think is a really good way of looking at it. So what are your thoughts on that?
Mary. I absolutely love Mary. Yeah, I'm one of her followers. I think she's great. I think she's definitely ahead of her time.
I think so as well, and I think that one of the things that she brings to every table that she talks to is she's got this side to her that's like really fun and giggly, but she's also got this hard-nosed business side, and this balance of the two is fantastic. I remember chatting to a friend of mine the other day, and she was saying, how do you manage to get her to smile? She scares me. I'm like, no, she's a pussycat. And I guess it depends on which version that you're talking to. I've known her for maybe 8 years or so. And so it makes it a lot easier to be able to just cut to a chase and get stuff done. But certainly her view of algorithms, because her background is very much working in the tech space when it comes to programming and coding. And so she comes in with a very tech version of people business, which is great because I go in from a creative side, but she's got a real view as to how to program people, same as programming software, which gives you a different spin on the algorithms you should be using to get results. So I found that fascinating, and hope that came across on the interview. And for anybody who doesn't know about the interview, it is available. Just go to the podcasts of Speak on Stage, and the details should be within the comment section of where to find the podcasts. Alternatively, just scroll down my feed, go to my profile page, scroll down there, and you should see a picture of Mary laughing, and that would be your hint as to where we are and what we do. We've only got a couple of people joining us at the moment, Eric and Haroon. Good to see you. If you'd like to join us on stage and ask a question or say hi, then you're very welcome to do so. We do have some rules of engagement, which I'll explain in a few moments when we get a few more people joining us. But the bottom line really is to get to conversations rather than use it as a job interview, as some people often do. Well, I did this and I did that, and since then I've been doing this. Okay, what do you want to ask a question? No question. I just wanted to tell everybody all about me. So I'm sure that's not the case here. But if you'd like to join us, all you have to do is, I believe it's in the reactions button, or might be invitations button, and just put your hand up and ask to join us on stage, and we'll take it from there and invite you on. So that's the way that we do it. And in fact, Debbie, you and I go back away from being in the Game Changers group. But it took a while before you wanted to jump on stage. At first, it was, I don't really want to do it, but now I think you got a taste for it.
I'm one of those that likes to stand in the shadows and just let everybody else do it. But it started getting addictive and fun. And the more I got invited up, it just became part and parcel of what I needed to do. Can I also add something else that you'd mentioned about LinkedIn branding?
Yep.
A lot of people are actually very interested in it because my inbox is always full of strategists that are trying to promote it and trying to sell their services. So I do actually think today will be a very successful listen for people because it's on demand, and there's so many marketers out there on LinkedIn that are trying to promote their services. And to add something else to Mary Henderson, something else about her is that she is a genuine person. That comes across when you talk to her, when you engage with her, and the way she sells her services is authentic. It's as you see her is exactly what you get.
I agree with you completely. And I think that, LinkedIn has now got 1 billion users. So it's gone from this very boring Facebook in a suit type style platform to being something more mainstream. I was looking at an article this week that said that Ryan Reynolds is really strong on LinkedIn, as indeed Snoop Dogg has just joined as well, and various other people who you wouldn't imagine have an interest in getting business or connecting. I've realized that there's so many of their potential audience here that they really can't ignore it. So why would somebody like Ryan Reynolds have an interest in joining onto this particular platform? Because he's also a massive businessman. The guy, apart from being a film star and an actor and comedian, is also a very, very solid billionaire businessman who creates incredible brands and launches them using his star following as a way to initially get it off the ground, but then he gets it to a really high level where people are buzzing about it and then sells it on. So he had Aviator Gin. He's got various platforms, and he had a telecommunications company he was working with. And the most recent one, which I think he's not going to let go for a while, is Wrexham Football Club, based in Wales, which he took over, which is if you've watched the TV show is massive. And Wrexham have become one of the most popular football teams around the world, considering they're only in League Two in the UK. But because of the fact that he did a documentary, which he starred on with his colleague Rob McElhenney, they did an incredible job of getting to find out who the people are in the town and what makes them tick. And it was more about a reality TV show about the town and the football club than it was about the stars. They only popped in every now and again just to let you know that it was their show. But it became an addictive watch purely because it's reality TV with real people, all about football town and how badly it's been in disrepair for about 15 years. But the money that they're injecting and injecting and injecting. And the first season was fascinating because as you get to know these characters and the decisions that they're making, it's pretty much warts and all. They didn't manage to get promoted at the end of the first season. which just showed it wasn't fabricated or written by Hollywood writers. It was just real life. But they went up the second season, which was amazing. And they're currently doing okay. I think it was number 4 in the league, in League 2. So it'll be fascinating to see at the end of the season whether they go up and whether that happens in a new series where they promise everything will be covered. Have you had a chance to watch any of that, by the way?
I haven't, but I have been seeing the social media feeds of Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively now living in Wales and all that's been going on with that.
No, the whole town really embraced them, and what they did was invested a lot of money in getting a top manager, or at least one that they could afford to have, who'd gone up to the higher echelons, who wasn't interested in joining the project. And they recruited a number of people who weren't really interested in joining the project, but did it because why not? Maybe it's a publicity, maybe it's just a fun, maybe let's see what happens, including guys like Ben Foster, who used to play for Manchester United. He's now 40 years old, retired, coming out of retirement just to play for the team and doing an amazing job. So it's a really interesting sort of B-level soap opera, but with real life, and you can see what's going on if you follow the headlines with the sporting results, just to see what's coming up in future seasons. And they're very diverse. I mean, look after the women's team and lots of really interesting areas with that. So I'd recommend for anybody to watch that too. If you just joined us, welcome to the podcast. We only go for an hour, by the way, and so far it's only been myself and Debbie chatting. Aziza joins in when she's got something specific to say, which is usually to tell me to not say stuff. But we always want to know what you're thinking, what's going on. Good to see Jeremy. Jeremy, it's not only well past your bedtime. What are you doing up at this time? If you want to leave a comment, then you can do, by the way, in the comments section, and we'll respond to it there. Alternatively, if you just want to jump on stage and say hi, then you're very welcome to do that as well. If you can share the fact we're going live, because we'd like to get more people onto the podcast so we can share some different thoughts and ideas and attitudes when we do it. So what was the biggest challenge for you, Debbie, when you first started doing LinkedIn? What was it that you hesitated most about?
It was more the fact that I knew that it was a form of social media, and I didn't know how it could be utilized, because at the time it was Facebook that was big, and then LinkedIn was more strictly for business. So whether it was business hubs or those looking for some kind of business arrangement, that was where. So with LinkedIn, I joined it, but didn't fully understand how to utilize its benefits.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I know a lot of people feel the same way about it, purely because of the fact that, if nothing else, you've got this huge challenge of the fact that it's kind of perceived as a bit stuffy. And in the old days, it was very much seen as the only place you'd use if you wanted to get a job. So how could you possibly have social media around that? Because, I mean, if you're not looking for a job or you've got an existing job, then why would you want to bother posting in there? But I think since then, a lot's changed. If you have any thoughts on this, by the way, if you'd like to share your thoughts on LinkedIn, why you use it, what you do with it, or ask any questions, then feel free to do so. I'll share with you a little strategy that I use. I used in the early days. I think the algorithm makes it pretty difficult to be able to do the same thing. But what I did was I realized that my numbers were really low. And I was about 3,000 followers. And I thought, I've got to get up to be with the big boys and big girls at some point. So what I did for about 100 days, I think it was, I drove home, as you do. That's not the thing I did. And when I got in, around about 7, 8 o'clock, I would start connecting with people, with the companies that I wanted to do business with. I would send a connection to every single person I could find from that company. And I would also write a post, an article, every single morning. Now, not a post, an article. Because I wanted it to be that when people were looking to see who I was for some credibility, they'd actually see that there's articles that I've been writing, so I do know what I'm talking about. So I did that every single day for about 100 days until I reached 100 articles, and then I stopped doing it. But what I found was my numbers jumped as most people accepted the connection, which is fantastic. So if you go to see how many people at Red Bull are connected to me, or Samsung connected to me, apart from the ones who have since left, I mean, that was maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, I'd have maybe 150 people from the organization who are connected with me, because that was done deliberately. So if I approached the companies to do some business with them, it wouldn't be a case of, who are you? It'd be a case of, oh, you know most of my colleagues. Well, in that case, it should be much easier. I don't think I actually did any work with Red Bull, but the strategy seemed sound at the time. But what I found was that worked really well, and my numbers went up. But one of the problems is, and this is what makes it really weird, is when you do connect with people, if they say, I've never seen you before, I don't know who you are, and they declare it spam, you get a little black mark against your name. And a couple of them, and you can get suspended. So I ended up with 2 people who are actually coaches, who said, I've never met this guy before, why is he contacting me? And as a direct result of that, I got warning signs from LinkedIn not to do it again. So what did I do? I just carried on. I ignored those people, but blanked them. So I never talked to them again. Any questions from the audience? Anybody want to share something? Anybody want to have some discussions on a certain part of LinkedIn or any particular area that's been challenging you? I think that we've got a much stronger audience at LinkedIn than we've ever had before, not particularly in this group, but just generally in the way that LinkedIn is having more prominence when other social media types are getting more filled with influencers. I think LinkedIn still has this way of reaching the people who want to spend money with checkbooks, or people who want to consider people more seriously, who have an impact on LinkedIn. The thing I found a little bit more struggling is the fact that what it does is it shows up in your feed people who are like you, which should be great. We've got a community. But if you're a speaker, I don't want to connect with lots of other speakers. They're all pitching for the same gigs as me. So I don't know how you found that in your feed with the stuff that you're doing, but I'd love to know. Eric, coming to join us. Fantastic. Great to see you. Let's get you on stage. I'll have to unmute. And please feel free to share who you are and what you do, but do that quite quickly and then get straight into the questions and the thoughts that you'd like to do. How are you, Eric? Have to unmute. Bottom right of your app.
There we go.
Perfect.
Well, I can, just so you know, I was interested in following you. I believe we share a mutual friend, Ernesto Verdugo.
Ernesto, yes, of course.
And I'm actually doing an event with him in Las Vegas on March 3rd through the 7th. I'm actually in Las Vegas, so I'm on the other side of the globe, a little bit past my bedtime. But, everything, one of the beauties of LinkedIn, especially when you're in business, is, first of all, the demographics are better than all of the other platforms. You have a much higher income level. So if you're putting something together that is more of a high ticket item, the likelihood of finding people that have the money to spend on whatever you're selling is going to be that much greater. And then, of course, what Ernesto is doing right now is he's creating this credibility and trust accelerator, and he's showing people how to become a key person of influence, utilizing utilizing social media to get Google to recognize you. Because most people, if they Google themselves, they're going to find out that they're nothing more than a search result. But then there's other people who have elevated their presence, and they've been awarded by Google a knowledge panel. And that brings a whole lot to them. And interestingly, LinkedIn is something that Google indexes in a far greater level than a lot of the other platforms. In fact, if you were picking between Facebook and LinkedIn, you really want to ignore Facebook because Google ignores Facebook. And you want to do things that are going to be indexed by Google because, let's face it, when somebody wants to know who is this person, the likelihood is the first thing they're going to do is they're going to go to Google or they're going to go to LinkedIn and they're going to say, who is this person?
Fascinating. I agree with you. But one of the things about it, and LinkedIn as well, is the algorithms keep changing. So the ultimate thing you've got to do is you've got to look at your own internal branding, who you are, what you do, who your audience is, and what they're going to want. Because even though there are tricks and techniques and little things you can do to change dancing around the algorithm. The bottom line is, if people find you because you become more visible, but they've got no interest in working with you, then it was kind of wasted. So it's about working out what it is that you bring to market and what it is that people are going to want, as much as it is about creating that system for people to find you. And I find that a lot of people, especially when in the world of coaches, but a lot of people don't really know who their target market is, because the first thing they say is anybody who does X, Y, Z. And it's like, well, not anybody. Can you break that demographic down? Is there a location? Is there an age? Is there a specific part of the industry that they do? Is it a particular headache that they're dealing with that you can fix? And once you start looking at that, it becomes a lot easier to convert and a lot easier to reach the people that you really want to reach, because you know where they are and what you need to do. Does that make sense to you as well, Eric?
Absolutely. And I think one of the things you said a little bit earlier is so important. And that was, you started out by putting together 100 days worth of articles. And those articles really it's what people use to get to know, like, and trust you. And if you're talking about a subject that interests them. And again, part of the problem with social media is it's all about look at me. And no one cares about, looking at you. It's what can you do for them? And with an article, when you're imparting your wisdom, you're sharing your knowledge, all of a sudden you're elevating your personal brand, and they're going to want to be associated with you. And then in the long run, if they have a problem that they think you can solve, they're more likely to contact you.
I agree with you completely. But I mean, that was in the day was when, I mean, this is going back about 7 or 8 years ago. Articles was the thing. I don't think articles makes a lot of difference now. I do newsletters. They reach a
right now.
audience.
Now it's news. Right now it's newsletters. It's changed, and obviously, whenever the algorithm changes or the methodology changes, you have to, adjust to it. But the concept is still the same. It's what is the content that you're producing that is relevant to the audience that you're trying to reach.
I agree with you completely. It's great to have you in here. And if you just joined us, by the way, wonderful to have you in our group. Good to see Simonetta and Monica's just joined us, and Istake as well. Just say it right, anyway, starts with an I. And Mark as well, and Zainab. Zara, you've just joined us on stage. Nice to see you. What's your thoughts on this?
Grand afternoon. Thank you, Dave. I have a question that I'm here on the LinkedIn since 2013.
Wow.
But I was never active here. But for the last about 2.5 years, I'm here. I'm active, listening people. I like it, being like a people servant or something. And I share my experiences, what I've been through, different jobs and all, and whatever I think. My point is that I just wanted to know, like when I search my name on the Google, I don't see myself anywhere on any platform. I mean, not on the LinkedIn, not even on the Facebook. I'm a user of a Facebook for a very long time, and just wanted to know, why is that?
Well, I've got to ask you a question. First of all, and please don't take it the wrong way, who are you and what have you done that other people should know about, and how have you publicized that? That's the question you should be asking yourself, because even though you're clearly a fully rounded person who's successful in business and joining and speaking on our platform here, they've got to be able to find you and something that you've done. Now, you can cheat the algorithms by putting stuff out there now, but what's happened is a lot of the old search that we found worked before, which is Google, which was dominated by people who are doing search engine optimization, making sure that websites found you, social media found you, and that would get you up the rankings, and then they'd add some advertising, and Google became multi-billionaires on the back of that. That's changing. AI has driven it in a brand new direction with websites like perplexity.ai. And what that does is it searches across all the sites and summarizes who you are and what you do. So, for instance, right now, Zara Ijaz shows up on LinkedIn, and there may be quite a few versions of your name that show up. But what it will happen in Perplexity is it'll give you a couple of different versions of what you might do for a living. Your job is to dominate and make sure that when people search for you, they only find you.
Dave, I have another question. Like, for example, if I search Dave Crane,
yep.
Of course, you show up on the results, but I don't see any other name like Dave Crane on the LinkedIn, right? It's just you.
Well, you
likewise.
Sorry, go on, carry on.
And likewise, if I search my name, I don't see anybody else here on the LinkedIn with Zarar Ejaz. But I still don't see any. I've been here since 2013. And for the last 2.5 years, like I said, I'm active. But I don't see my name anywhere. And,
right. I'm going to throw a couple of things at you because you said a couple of things that are fascinating. And by the way, if you just joined us, if you've got some thoughts and some ideas that you'd like to throw into this conversation, then put your hand up and come and join us on stage. We're looking at how to do more with LinkedIn and become more of an authority and grow your brand at the same time. So here we go. First of all, Zara, what you've got is when you've got on LinkedIn has its own little search engine that's like a mini Google inside LinkedIn, which then fits into the big Google. So you have to make sure that you start dominating what you've got to be able to make sure that you become relevant to people. So if you are just down as your job description and a couple of jobs you had before, and it puts you down for your CV, then you're not going to show up on that search engine properly. What you should be doing, first of all, is thinking about the keywords that you need to have to show up more relevance, and then start putting posts about them, but also put in your past. I worked on a project, for instance, if you want to show up as accountancy, then put some accounting projects you worked on, maybe flagging up the companies you worked with and the description of what it is that you had. Because what will happen then, if somebody starts looking for accounts, then we'll start seeing your name showing up more and more. Now, there's a science behind it, and it does change quite rapidly. But when you say that you do stuff to show up, does that mean that you're posting? Does that mean that you're commenting on posting? Does that mean that you've got your own keywords that you use? Does that mean that you're flagged up as an expert in your industry in a LinkedIn voice? What are the stuff that you are doing that you're proud of that should be getting better results?
Thank you, Dave. And this really helped me. I mean, I have to update everything according to what you said. So, for example, the search engines. And I hope in the future I can show up somewhere in the Google.
It's only here's the thing. It's like running a marathon. You put one foot in front of the other and repeat. So, for instance, what I would recommend to you, and I don't think I've got the link in, I've got it on the upgrades section on speakonstage/upgrades. I've got a thing called the Personal Branding Accelerator. And what that is a program. It's a set of 5 modules that tells you how to dominate on LinkedIn, how to grow your personal brand, how to get hired, not get hired, but how to be a great podcast guest, and also how to get over imposter syndrome and how to target your audiences so when you speak and post, they instantly resonate with you. I would recommend that you take a look at that, and I would actually just get it. It's about $97, and it sounds like I'm some kind of ruthless salesman here, but what it will do is it'll just tell you everything that I've told you in like 30 seconds, but it'll walk you through all the different stages. The reason it's so relevant is because most people just stick their finger in the air and hope that something will happen. There is a science behind it. I mean, for instance, having a website and having all the rest of it really helps. Having your company website on there does help a little bit, but ideally you want to create something that's very personal around you. I did various things to boost mine, like having an IMDb page. I pay to create one of them. I've got a book coming out soon as well. But I've also been doing this for a very long time. Your job is not to be, I want to be like Dave Crane. Your job is to be, I want to be more like Zara Ejaz. And when people are looking for me and people are looking for the stuff that I do, I want to dominate that search. So I don't look at anybody else's stuff. I look at the stuff that I do and where I want to be. But you need to make sure that you know the skills and the tools that you need to be able to get to that level. Does that make sense, Zara?
Definitely, this makes sense. And thank you so much. Lots of health, wealth, fitness, blessings, happiness, smiles, wisdom for everybody here in this room, people in the audience, on the stage. Thank you so much, Dave.
There you go. Thank you so much. That's like a big group hug. If you just joined us, by the way, welcome to the group. We go until, in fact, we've got about half an hour of this session left. So if you just joined us, what time do you call it? We start the same time every Sunday, unless I'm flying, in which case it happens the same time on a Friday, kind of thing like that. What are your thoughts on LinkedIn? What are your thoughts on what you need to do to position yourself better? If that's a conversation that you want to have, then stick your hand up and join us on stage. We don't always stick to the same conversation. We do move around if there's something that's more pressing and you want to get the crowd sourced and have a brainstorming with everybody in the room, then we're more than happy to move on to that. But LinkedIn is such a big subject that when we start talking about it, everyone starts identifying and thinking, wow, well, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? Now, one of the things I will share with you is I don't go on LinkedIn all the time. I certainly don't spend all day on LinkedIn. I know some people do and they love it. I find it boring. And also, I think it's toxic. I don't mean in a horrible way to the organizers of LinkedIn, but I think social media in general is made to allow people to brag all the time. And if you spend too long on it, you start thinking, oh my goodness, I'm inferior. Look at all these successful people. But you don't know what's really going on in their lives. You don't know what really they're going through. All they're doing is showing you their best stuff. Like for every LinkedIn person that you see, or every Instagram person that you see, or TikToker, they're usually using some kind of filter to make them look gorgeous. For a start, you don't often see them when they just wake up out of bed unless they make it look like their bed is somewhere like Buckingham Palace. And that's a whole new set of conversations we're not going to go with. Zainab joining us on stage. How are you, Zainab?
Hi, Dave. Thanks for having me on. How are you? How is everybody?
Fantastic, thank you. All the better for having you on joining us on stage as well. How can we help you?
Yeah, I also have a question. So actually, I wanted to know that, I wanted to get your opinion on, as a professional, I have diverse skills in a variety of industries. Like, for example, I've worked in HR, I've worked in customer service and customer experience, I've done project management. I'm also now doing a little bit of data analysis and market research. So, how
Oh, I was just I pressed the wrong button. Oh my goodness, I feel so bad now. I pressed the wrong button. Please come and join us on stage again. There you go. Look at that. What an idiot. All right, so carry on. I was listening. I was just distracted by moving. Go on, carry on where you were. There we go.
Yeah, no problem, Dave. So I was saying that when we have a variety of skills in a diverse set of industries, like we have in HR, we have market research, we've got, I've got this data analysis and project management and customer experience. So how do we kind of project ourselves on LinkedIn with all of these skills, and as in that we're available to serve in all of these areas?
Okay, so here's what I would do first of all. I would look at what your customer is looking for. So you've got the version of you that's really important. This is like emotional intelligence. What is it that you do really well? What is your customer looking for that you really want to put across? Is it that you want to put it across to support your business? Can I ask you first of all, Zainab, do a quick description of who you are and what you do, so I can understand a little bit better about how to serve you with this question. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a project manager and I've worked in customer service projects as well as I'm a data analyst. I work in market research.
Okay, is it your own business or are you working for somebody else?
For somebody else as a freelancer.
Okay, so therefore, when you talk about things, do you talk about them and their project, or do you talk about you and what you're doing?
It's their project.
Right.
Yeah.
First of all, you're invisible. Because everything that you do under their project, you become invisible because they get bigger every time you mention them or post about them. So what I would do, even if you're on a freelance basis with them, is you should start considering running yourself as a business as far as your social media goes, but just always talk about them in favorable terms. What a pleasure it is to work with XYZ company. We're currently working on this great project, and it's a pleasure to blah blah blah. But let people know that you are different to that, and you don't belong to them because of paying you a contract, but not paying you a salary. They're not giving you all the mega benefits that come from being there full time. So also let people know that. So when you say I spearhead projects to improve customer blah blah blah, well maybe you need to look at some other elements that your particular customers will be looking for, because your customers might not be the people that you're working with. Your customers might be the people you're working for. So are you looking to get more contracts to work with people on projects? Or are you looking to be hired in as a freelancer so the money all goes to you? What would be the area that you're looking for? Is it B2B or B2C?
I think it would be both, actually.
Well, that's the difficulty, you see. If you say both, then you have to narrow it down. You don't have to do anything I say, by the way. But if you narrow it down, then you've got a better chance of them paying attention to it. Now, here's the thing. When you're a freelancer and you're an individual or a small business owner or a solo practitioner, most people in companies are a bit scared of working with you. And the reason for that is because if you work for a big department or a big procurement department, then they want to work with other companies because they feel safer than working with an individual who might go missing or might get sick or might not be as good as they say, even though you are as good as you say. And so talking in terms of running your own business or having an entity like you're running your own business is very effective. Don't say I anymore, say we. And make it look like you are part of a bigger organization, even if you're working under somebody else's roof. Because it will be a company probably that hires you, even though an individual will say so. But you want to make sure that you become as easy for them to say this is the person or the group we're looking for as possible. So I would look at what your offer is to the market, how you position yourself, and build it up so you become easier to hire by companies because they know that you're bringing a number of things to the table, not just you and your own expertise. That can scare some people off. And I've had many times before where I'll go out and even though I'm brilliant at what I do, the company just prefers from the point of view of a procurement department or an accounts department to deal with another company because somehow they feel safer answering to a managing director that we did the best job we could to find somebody just like us who does what we were looking for. Does that make sense, Zainab?
Understood. And maybe one last question. How do we really feel and get like a hold of what our customers want and like what are they looking for? How do we get to the pulse of our customer?
A great question. Now, to start off by asking you a simple question, what do you think your customers want, and when was the last time you asked them?
Oh, okay. So maybe use some polling on LinkedIn and stuff like that, right?
Well, not really. I mean, yes, you can, but first thing I would say, and I'd add this to every single person who's in this room and on this broadcast right now, is start adding artificial intelligence to everything you do. Get a free account on ChatGPT, even better, get a paid account. But when you've got questions like that, throw it at that first, because you've got a large language model computer system that will strategize for you. So if you said, how do I find out how to get the very best of who my ideal client is on LinkedIn, it will give you 8 different steps immediately, of which about 4 or 5 will be very practicable and easy to use. Now, that's what I'd say, because the follow-up after we close this room, you'll be left with lots more questions, and it's harder to then get access to those answers, even though we have got a couple of groups that we created, like Game Changers and our Turbocharge Your Brand, your career group, which is a free WhatsApp group, which you can see the contact details for in the comments. You're very welcome to join us here. But your target market, you've got to ask a question about, if you were to go and sell to somebody, what do they look like? And it's about creating a thing called an avatar. So that what age are they? What's their headache? What's their pain point that you got to fix? What country are they in? What nationality are they like to be? What sex, gender are they likely to be? It might be that that's not relevant, but it might be very specific. What was their problems before? How long have they been in this issue? Have they got a budget that means that they want to spend it? And let me give you an example. For instance, if you're talking to a solopreneur, then they're probably very tight on their money. Talking to a big corporate, they might well have a budget to put into your stuff, so they can afford your stuff much easier, but they have got more competition that they're looking at for you. So once you know who your target avatar is, and you may have about 5 or 6, or maybe 2 or 3, or maybe even 1, but it's unlikely to have 1 avatars, start looking at what would be called the lowest hanging fruit in the garden. So if you were looking to have to create some jam, for instance, or create something, a milkshake, and you're in this garden full of all the fruit that's in there, you say, right, I'd love to make a coconut milkshake. That'd be wonderful, tastes delicious, or coconut jam. But then you're looking at it at the top of a palm tree. It's not easy to access. But you're looking down on the floor, there's strawberries. Well, I want coconuts. I don't really want strawberries, but I guess I'll start off with strawberries. So you start getting the strawberries, you can turn them into jam, milkshake, ice cream, you can use them as fresh fruit, and suddenly you go, you know what, this is actually working out really well. I can do lots with that. I don't need to look for anything else. I'll just start to dominate the strawberry market. And then you put all your branding around the strawberries. So people who are looking for strawberry stuff, suddenly they're coming to you and nobody else. So you've got to ask yourself a lot of questions, which is, who is your best avatar? What's the easiest to convert? And it might be an HR department that's looking for your services. Who do you normally answer to, Zainab, when you're hired on a contract? What's a department head called?
It's just managing director. Sometimes that's the one I'm working with for my market research project.
So you only talk to managing directors normally?
I'm actually quite a beginner in this industry, I'll be very honest.
Okay, but there will be somebody who's a gatekeeper, somebody who you want to go as high up the food chain as you can do to the biggest decision maker. If there's a managing director, that's fantastic, but they tend to not have a lot of time, so they want to be able to go yes, no straight away. So if you haven't got your bundling, your documentation and your offer and your proposal good to go, the minute you start talking to them, they haven't got time to work out your offer if you can't tell them exactly what you want straight away. So maybe it's worth going slightly further down. Do you need to talk to a managing director, or do you need to talk to a head of marketing? You need to talk to a procurement department. You need to talk to the salespeople. Find out who your ideal person is, just like the strawberries I was talking to in the garden, not talking to, but talking about in the garden, and focus on what they need. What do they want? What can you offer that resonates with them so they go, Zainab is so smart. She knows exactly what she's talking about. Let's work with her. Does that make sense, Zainab?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
My pleasure. We've got a bit of work to do in it, but I'm sure that it'll be worth it for you anyway, and I really appreciate you coming up and joining us on stage.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Dave.
Jeremy, how are you, my friend? I've not talked to you for ages, and this is past your bedtime as well. What's all that about?
Good evening, Dave, and everyone. I'm burning the oil on both ends tonight.
You are?
So, yeah, I was just wanted to add a little bit of value here for you. If you really want to get traction on LinkedIn, there's a couple of key factors that you got to keep in consideration.
Mm-hmm.
One is to nurture your network. Offer a taste of what you know, your specialty. Put yourself in an authority position. And after you got them, they'll come to you. But you nurture your connections, and that's how you're going to grow.
That's very great. I don't know anybody who nurtures as well as you do. You're the most generous person I've ever met on LinkedIn. You post on behalf of people, you tag people all the time, and you make sure that you're constantly on LinkedIn making connections with people. So there's clearly a lot of value to be said in that. Because when it comes up to want to know somebody who knows somebody, you're the first person I go to get a suggestion on who could advise me on that and who could help me on that. So you just muted yourself on the back of that, Jeremy. Sorry, you still there?
But yeah, I accidentally hit the mute button.
Absolutely. So when you're talking about being visible, do you think it's a point of being visible for the right people, or just visible generally?
It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. The targeted market you want to attract. If you're looking for sales, anyone can sell on LinkedIn. You're going to see a lot of people selling, but LinkedIn is more of a marketer's eyeball catcher, sort of say, because it's getting your visibility. And your visibility, there's a lot of people in different professions, but there's also a lot of them that are looking for some kind of advice that you could give them, or a means of a way of helping them to level up. It varies on how you present yourself and what you share with them.
I couldn't agree more. I think that also it's important to not be a jack of trades, but let people know that you are very specific on one thing. I mean, people know me as a guy who speaks on stage. And even though there's other things I do as marketing, I'm actually a qualified hypnotherapist and life coach. They're not things that I necessarily talk about because I want to make sure that I am noticed and known for one particular area. You want to learn to speak, come to me. You want me to look after your stage and your event, come to me. And you want me to train your team, come to me. Now, that is quite a lot, but even so, it's quite a narrow field. And if you look at the amount of people who call themselves speakers on LinkedIn, there's millions of people who say, yeah, I am a speaker. And in the Dubai area, there's at least 10,000 people call themselves professional keynote speakers. So therefore, you want to make sure that you show up better than them. And when people do find you, then there's evidence to prove that you are as good as you say. So letting people know your triumphs and your successes, getting testimonials from people and recommendations, and also doing as much as you can to post great insights about what it is that you do really well. Even if you haven't got a post, sharing a post that somebody else has done or sharing an article allows people to see you as a thought leader. And ultimately, they want to hire you because of the fact that you solve a problem and you provide the certainty that you can fix it for them, alongside the trust and credibility that allows people to know that you are the best choice.
Exactly, Dave. That's exactly well put.
There you go. Fantastic. Jeremy, it's always a pleasure. Debbie, we haven't had a chat from you for ages. You've been very quiet, observing and seeing what's going on. So what are your thoughts on what we've had so far?
Well, it's because I'm guilty of most of what the people that have come up have said, and I haven't narrowed down on the one thing that I'm focusing on my audience. So I tend to avoid posting because like you mentioned, it's about narrowing down on one and not being a jack of all trades. I've got so many trades that I'm good at, I'm just not sure which one I should narrow down on.
And there's a question. So if you're not sure, how can other people know? You have to make decisions yourself first and then put that out. And in most cases, it means leaving 70, 80% of what you can do, especially if you've been in business for 20, 30 years. It means dropping most of what you do, but just focusing on what that low-hanging fruit would be and the people who would most want to hire you for that stuff.
Exactly, which is why, for the most part, I've been quiet on this, because I'm thinking, I mean, even the fact that my inbox on a weekly basis is full of sales, people trying to sell me on how I should improve my LinkedIn. And I keep responding that, thank you. I appreciate all your offers. However, I do know what I'm supposed to do. I'm just not ready to implement it yet.
Right. Well, that's something for you to make a decision on. I would never assume that I should be in a position telling you what to do. If you just joined us in the group, by the way, welcome to our Speak on Stage chats. We're talking about LinkedIn branding and strategies to be able to elevate your impact and reach more people. If you've got a thought or a comment or a question, feel free to put your hand up and come and join us on stage. You're very welcome to do so. But we only have just over 10 minutes left. We make sure we don't last longer than an hour because it turns into an instant podcast after this, by the way. We do record it and we'll make it available for those who missed anything. So, for instance, we had Zainab chatting earlier. She might have missed some of the tips, but she can go back and check out the podcast later, which will have all the details for her. So it's very much about how you get the very best out of LinkedIn. And so far, we've come nowhere near dominating what you really need to think about, because everyone's got their own view and their own direction, which makes it exciting, but it also means that you can end up doing a lot of work and getting very few results back, which I think is kind of like the worst thing that can happen with social media. Social media changes so often. I was mentioned earlier about the fact, and Eric was talking about the fact that Facebook is really difficult to have an impact on. Well, if you're advertising on LinkedIn, it can be very difficult to have an impact on as well. You need to be able to work out what's happening, but do that on an ongoing basis. And what I would suggest with every single platform, whether you're talking about LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or X, which used to be known as Twitter, is Enjoy the process of doing stuff on it, connect with people, that's fantastic, but get them off there and into your mailing list as soon as you possibly can. Why is that? Because things change. Websites go down. You could get blocked. You could get closed down without even actually meaning it to happen. It could happen by accident. You could get hacked and people send stuff out on your behalf. It could be a lot of different things. I mean, you'd have to build it up from scratch. And the only thing you can fall back on is, who do I actually have direct contacts with? So as much as possible, get people to join you in your own mailing list, or get you to join you on LinkedIn. We've got a LinkedIn group, which you may have come across, which is Turbocharge Your Career. We do 5-day challenges every month. And the details for all that are within the comments section. Please feel free to join that, just to apply. And we'd love to have you come and join us. And in there, we chat to lots of different people about some amazing things that are happening with decision makers all around the world. That's another example about what you should really consider about doing stuff, not just on LinkedIn, but give yourself other options. Otherwise, you could become incredibly invisible very, very quickly. Simonetta, nice to see you. How are you?
Hi, Dave. I'm very well. Thank you very much. How are you?
Wonderful, thank you. I was just talking earlier when about the Personal Branding Accelerator, the program put together that helps people to fast track what they do. Now, you purchased that. What was your thoughts on it?
It was amazing. To be honest, I loved every single module of it. I saw it not just once, I saw it 3 times. I really like your delivery. It's very natural, very pleasant, but also, most importantly, very insightful. So the tips you are sharing are definitely worthwhile to see and to work on, because it's all about really how we position ourselves and what kind of resources are we using. And I must say, I would like to make a note regarding the LinkedIn contacts and the email addresses. You know, I realized that it might be the one big chunk of work I'm missing, because I have not started the email list yet and regular emailing. And now when you mentioned that we should get them as soon as possible to our email list, I was wondering, what are some of the best practices, how we can do it? Can we put everyone there, or is there a conversation that needs to take before we actually put them there? If you can make a recommendation or one suggestion for it.
That's an amazing question. To answer that better than I can, I'm going to hand you over to my beautiful wife, Aziza, who runs systems for looking after emailing lists and also lead magnets and sales funnels and a number of different things like that. Aziza, what would you say the answer to this then?
Hi, Simonetta. You have to get, like what Dave was saying, a lead magnet, which is something attractive. Could be a PDF, could be a template, a checklist of the things that you don't mind sharing, so that they are interested, and getting that PDF onto a form, and then they get onto your mailing list from there. And then from once they get in the email list, don't just ignore them, send them other things as well, so they are interested. And don't just sell on the emails as well. You have to nurture that that mailing list. So what I'm trying to say is, use all social media platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you have out there, as a tool to get all your followers onto your own mailing list, because that's where you nurture them. That's where you get them from becoming fans to buyers, to sellers, to promoters, to affiliates, to all. Because if you look at other people who are who get a lot of traction, say for example Stephen Bartlett, whatever he posts on LinkedIn, he doesn't comment on there. He just posts and then everybody replies. And he doesn't even sell anything on LinkedIn. Yeah. Why? Because he does everything on his emails. He does everything on other platforms that he sells. Even famous internet gurus like, well, I don't really like the word gurus, but specialists like Amy Porterfield. She hardly does social media. She does social media on LinkedIn, on Instagram, but everything else is nurtured via her email. So get used to the idea that LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram is just a tool to get everyone onto your own your own mailing list, because that data is yours then. Because if you depend on just LinkedIn to sell your stuff, and if LinkedIn shuts down or you get locked out of your portal one day, then what? Then what happens after that?
It's so important.
Right. Yeah.
Take a look at the stuff that we have in the comment section. I've posted a number of different lead magnets for different sorts of people. So as I scroll up and down, I look at that. I say, for those people who really want to be at the top of their game, there's a page there about becoming an industry icon. For those of you who want to look at different options, there's the upgrades page. For those people who want to do it for free, then they can go to join our WhatsApp group. But also, you can see my new book, the Thought Leaders Playbook. I've got a lead magnet for there, which is that when you click on there and register, you'll get first information about when the book goes live, so you can get it before anybody else. So think about it. What is it that you do? And can you give a potted version for people to go, wow, that's exactly what I'm looking for? But then as an exchange, it's an ethical bribe. They give you their email. You give them something that really would have taken them a long time to be able to get access to, because it's very specific, but it's really good for them. And as a direct result, they warm to you with material, and then you just keep them nurtured until after you've kept the relationship for a while, then you can look to sell them something. Otherwise, what happens is when people are talking all the time on LinkedIn about buy my stuff, other people avoid watching their posts or reading their posts or interacting, because there's nothing there apart from, you walking into a shop and it's like an insurance person running up to you and trying to sell you something. Eventually, you just stop going to that shop. And so it's about getting that right balance and also getting people in a way that they feel comfortable interacting with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes definitely.
Fantastic.
And I know that apparently, based on the feedback, majority of the business consultants get are actually from emailing and from being in such a contact rather than on LinkedIn, and therefore it made me feel more alert, because I think this is something I still need to master and implement.
Yeah, it changes all the time. You see, one of the things about email is email is still very successful. You send it, you've got a long form for reaching people, which is amazing. But what I find is LinkedIn is a great way to be able to show people your shop front and show people the very best of who you are. But it's also a bit fakey, because there's a lot of stuff on there that's not particularly great, but people put it on. But I found that WhatsApp is a really effective way of reaching the people that you want to reach and getting an instant response, which might be that they don't even bother responding to you, but you can tell that it reached them. Something like 99% of things that you send on WhatsApp reach the people and they read it. Now that's much, much bigger than email, which has something like 0.1% of people actually open their emails and have a look at it. But at the same time, you want to be able to make sure that what you're sharing has got some kind of credibility, and you can't easily do business the same way on WhatsApp.
Yeah, you're right. Because we actually are all the time on WhatsApp, right? So the probability of people opening it is much higher. Yeah.
It's true, but sometimes you find, though, that the people that you meet on LinkedIn, on WhatsApp, are spamming. I mean, I find now I hardly ever pick up the phone, because certainly it's true in Dubai, but I don't know if it's true in other places around the world, where you just get these calls from call centers trying to get you to sign up to their trading platform and so on. I actually avoid phone calls now unless I know who's calling me, and I may end up losing business. But I'm so sick to death of that call center garbled speech that comes up. So you need to find ways that people feel comfortable connecting, and then really lean into doing that.
Absolutely true. Yeah. Same here.
Excellent.
Still picking up on those.
Fantastic. Well, you're in our WhatsApp group as well, aren't you? You get some value from there too.
I am. Yes.
Excellent.
Absolutely
Well,
Thank
what
you
we
so
want to
much.
do at some point in the future is step that up to actually doing some meetups in Dubai. That'd be great to actually meet face to
That
face.
would be great.
That's on my agenda of things to play with when I stop traveling so much. Even if it's just a meetup in a coffee shop, and let's see what goes from there. But for now, this is our meetup that we do every Sunday in this platform.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you so much, Simonetta, for
Always
joining
a
us.
pleasure.
So we've gone for our time now. We've done an hour's worth of conversations, and it's been a pleasure having everybody come and join us. If you just joined us now, then please join us earlier. If you're wondering when do we do this because you're in a different time zone, then join our WhatsApp group. We give you at least half an hour of warning to say, get your cup of coffee, grab a biscuit, and jump onto LinkedIn and click this link so you can come directly to where you need to be able to talk to us and connect and also learn some great stuff. We were talking very much about the different options and strategies for LinkedIn, and we only just kind of looked under the surface. There's still so much for a conversation to continue. But when you do that, join our mailing list, by the way. And if you want to know more, Aziza will contact you through our mailing list. And you can get lots of information for doing our great stuff there as well. So much to do, such little time. We're going to call it a day there. It's been a pleasure having everyone there. If you just joined us, then we do it for an hour every Sunday, unless I'm traveling. I've got a big event coming up in about a couple of weeks' time. I'm going to be traveling to Saudi, where I'll be hosting Leap, which is the world's biggest tech event. And it's fascinating, all the stuff that's going to be there. In fact, Stephen Bartlett is going to be one of the speakers there, amongst many others who are big hitters in the industry. And I'll keep you posted with all the stuff that's going on there. Meanwhile, make sure to check out that interview with Mary Henderson, which is cool. And also jump on to the next one that I share this Tuesday. I'll be going live with Joel Comm. Just Google Joel Comm, C-O-M-M, Joel Comm, and you'll realize what a big hitter he is. He'll be sharing a ton of things that you'll access, you'll learn, and you go, wow, what a cool guy, and also I can use that. So it's all about thought leadership, and we'll be sharing that with you. So, meanwhile, it's been a pleasure having you here in our group. Look forward to catching up with you. The podcast, I will leave you details of the podcast, which is today's recording, so you can go through everything again and hear it second time round or first time round if you just joined us. Meanwhile, what I'd like to do is go through the people who are on stage and let them just give a very quick resume or thought of what they would like to share. And by the way, if you've been in for most of the session, I'd really appreciate if you give us some kind of comment in the comments, because that really helps us more than you know to be able to get more people to come and join us nice and early for the next session. So let's start with Jeremy. Jeremy, what are your thoughts? Anything you'd like to leave people with as a last thought about today? I know it's past your bedtime, but it's always a pleasure having you here talking to us.
You pretty much covered it, Dave. One thing I would add, though, would be take advantage of going into your group. There's a lot of information that can be useful as well. That's about the best I could add to this.
Fantastic. Well, and also connecting with you, you are the mover and shaker who knows all the big hitters on LinkedIn. So anybody who wants to be connected to the big guys, Jeremy knows everyone name by name, and they know him as well. So it's a pleasure having you here and joining us. And at some point, Jeremy, go and get some sleep. Aziza, you were talking about mailing lists and also about the importance of email. Any thoughts you want to leave us with before we close today's session?
Just start your mailing list today. It's easy. Just create a form, start small PDF, and then get everyone that is following you onto your own mailing list.
I think what we can do is the future sessions, maybe talk about lead magnets. Show people how to create them. That'd be really cool as well. So maybe we'll add that to our future sessions. What do you think?
Okay.
Brilliant. Excellent. And
and one more thing. We start at 1 o'clock. An hour ago, we have to go. So if you come just now, I'm really sorry. We can't put you up on stage anymore because I've got another Zoom session actually going on right now. So come back next week at 1 o'clock UAE time sharp.
There you go. You've been told by the boss. That's why we can't jump you on stage. But hopefully, hey, look at the pun there. You'll come across earlier next time, and we can give you a chance to have a conversation. Debs, I'm going to leave you with a final word apart from my roundup. You didn't say much today, which is quite unusual. Normally you're jumping in there, but I think you got some kind of LinkedIn guilt that's kept you a little bit quieter than normal today.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's more the fact that I'm one of those that does not enjoy LinkedIn simply because of the sales that goes on in the background. So yes, I do have a LinkedIn guilt, and I do need to get my profile up and running to basically project what it is that I promote and sell about myself. But what I will leave everybody with is that, yes, whatever platform you're on, the email list is gold, absolute gold. It's just to start with something small. Don't overthink it. Just have fun with it. And yeah, enjoy the process, trust the process, and have fun with it.
There you go.
Have a great week as well.
Absolutely. And Joanne's just joined us. Too late, Joanne, and you know it's too late. You're probably having your breakfast now. And you're going to tell us lots of stories about amazing stuff you've been up to, and we'd love to have you on, Baddie, as well. Get here early. We start at 1 o'clock sharp every single Sunday, and we look forward to having you up on stage and sharing lots of ideas and thoughts and so on with you. We'll continue the conversation next week. But meanwhile, if you need to contact us directly, leave it into the comments. I'd be more than happy to have a chat with you further about any way that we can help you move forward into the future. So that's it from us today. Hope you enjoyed today's session. It will be recorded and it will be posted onto YouTube shortly. So if you want to access this exact session, it'll be available in just a few hours' time. Meanwhile, on behalf of myself and Aziza and Debbie and all our people who join us on stage, thank you so much for coming to join us on Speak on Stage Live, our podcast. Check out our other podcasts, of which there are many, and our upcoming broadcasts, of which you'd be very welcome to come and join us too. Meanwhile, look after yourself. We help you to jump and grow wings on the way down, so you can do it on your own afterwards. Take care, thank you, and goodbye.